All right, and we are live. Welcome, friends, to another live reality games podcast. We are here again talking about Survivor Michigan Season 3, Mazed and Confused, Episode 2. And it was a doozy because not just one, two players were eliminated. And we have one of those players with us today. Nick, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And we also have the host, Cooper. How are you doing today?
Doing terrific. How about you guys?
Couldn't be better. And in addition, I'm your co host, Kirk. And with me co hosting today is Travis. Travis, you were at the first podcast. You want to do a quick intro for us?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Travis, and I'm here to ask some questions. I'm a huge LRG fan, enthusiast. I've been hosting for a long time. I have definitely played a few of these in my day. I currently am hosting Home for the Holidays, which is kind of a throwback to a Big Brother style game with a holiday twist to it. And we just finished up our third season. But I am super excited for this season of Survivor Michigan, and so I'm here to hopefully get some dirt.
So let's dive right into it. Again, if you have not watched episode 2, this is going to be full of spoilers. This whole podcast is a bunch of spoilers on episode 2. So make sure you watch that first if you want to see it live yourself. But before we get into it, guys, I want to play a little game. I mean, you guys are Survivor fans too. And so watching the episode, I realized Ben is very far ahead of everybody else in the game. In fact, he's taken many steps. So we're going to do Big Brother rules. I want each of you to guess how many steps ahead is Ben, exactly to the number, but you can't go over. So it's going to be the closest without going over. And we are going to start with Travis. How many steps ahead is Ben?
Man, he's a lot of steps ahead. I was counting at one point, but he said it so many times. I'm gonna kind of go with a safe lower bet, but I'm gonna guess like 44 times. He's 44 steps ahead.
44 steps ahead. That is Travis's guess. Next, let's go to Cooper. I mean, it's your episode. You might have it right, but let's see.
He said it a lot of times for sure. So, I guess total. I'm gonna say 35. I'm gonna go a little below Travis. 35.
35. So we have 44 from Travis, 35 from Cooper. And Nick, exactly how many steps ahead is Ben?
Um, 40 in the middle of them.
All right. So all of you are very close. The exact number is 48 steps. Travis, you are the winner. Congratulations. I've already given you many buffs, so I'm not going to send you another one. But yeah.
It's all right. Just the fact that I won means everything to me.
But let's talk about that maybe a little bit. Ben's apparently ahead of everybody else. Travis, what was your kind of takeaway from that?
Yeah, I love Ben, first of all, as a character. He is exactly that. I think he knows he's a character. He is wearing floral print shirts and basically like spokespersoning LaCroix. I think he's amazing. But I also think he's maybe underestimating this group of people a little bit. He's definitely thinking and he's definitely strategizing. But I don't know exactly how many steps ahead Ben really is.
It is kind of questionable sometimes when it comes out, but I mean, he was on the right side of the vote. So I guess we'll come to see. I thought it was pretty interesting, the summit idea that occurred right at the start of the episode. That's when we have Brady and Ben cross-tribaling and creating the core Power 6 Alliance. My nickname was the Common Enemy Alliance. So we have two tribes essentially talking about taking over and dominating and eradicating another tribe. Nick, I'm curious how much you knew about that.
I didn't know a thing of what was going on outside of like of the things that I was doing, like that I was working on myself. So I had no idea about anything.
And so now this was the two tribes, I think, that were uniting were the T tribes, the Tormenta and the Tafiti. And, those are 6 and 6 at the beginning of the game. Obviously it didn't seem like it was a collective 12 that were coming together. So it looks like even in the preview for next episode, we're going to get to see, exactly who is kind of privy to that information and who isn't. But I thought, like, right off the bat, what is, like, Cooper, what's one of the, like, rules in terms of, like, cross-tribal talking? Obviously you're at a college campus and people have to interact, but, do you discourage it? Do you tell people right from the beginning, hey, everybody's fair game? Or do you let people kind of infer, that information as they go?
Yeah. First of all, if I'm lagging at all, I apologize. But to answer your question, we basically just don't say anything about it. So if you want to go and like take the initiative to go strategize across tribes and meet other people, totally, by all means, we love that because it makes it so much. The dynamics are so much more interesting when you eventually get to a swap or get to a merge. But we don't even really mention it because if people aren't thinking about it, we don't really want to give them the idea in case other people already had it by themselves. So that's kind of where we stand on it.
That makes sense. So then on the other end of things, like with Nick, like not knowing the game of Survivor, would you even think to talk to the other people? Or were you only thinking you could only talk to the 6? Or like what was your brain thinking? I think he froze.
Did Nick freeze?
Or he's really pensive right now.
We'll find out in a second. One of the other things that was kind of interesting right at the get-go was Nick's relationship with Emily, or lack thereof. And I know kind of this had to do with Emily approaching the other tribe. Maybe she's being disingenuous with her offer to throw the challenge. But I still kind of questioned, Nick isn't on the other tribe. That doesn't necessarily apply to him. So I was curious how that affected him. I see Nick's trying to get back in, so let me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. I apologize. My computer just crashed. So when I was playing Survivor, I was completely lost. I had never played Survivor before. The only thing related to Survivor that I had seen in the past was this Cartoon Network show. I think it's called like Boom Island or Toon Explode Island. I don't know, whatever. And I didn't even remember like many things. So I was there just like going with the flow, playing the games. I thought it was fun. Like I had not thought about like how to last as long as possible until the episode when I ended up being like kicked out. And well, that's what I got because I started talking and yeah, so maybe I should have thought more about what I was saying, but yeah, I was not looking into anything else.
So Nick, you start to talk about not really trusting Emily because how disingenuous she was, possibly about throwing the challenge. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I'm a very uh, transparent person. Like I think that like the way to go and to be like successful in everything is full transparency, right? And that's why I was also talking about if we do how do you call them, like partnership. um, you should go open for them. Like I think I do not think about. I don't think it's a great idea to keep them secret, although that's done a lot, and I didn't know that back then. So basically, I did not trust her. Yeah.
Do you think if you played again that you would try to have more secret alliances, or would you continue trying to have these public alliances?
Okay, so my stand on this is as follows: if you are a smart, if you like plan everything ahead a lot, then having secret alliances is not in your best interest. But uh, but that's as long as everyone else. Like this is from game theory. Like, that's as long as everyone else agrees with that. But if someone thinks that having secret alliances is good for you, then you should try to have secret alliances, and that's just because your your lasting in the game depends on everyone else trusting you. Um, so going back, I definitely would have gone for secret alliances.
Yeah. So it is a
Excellent.
little bit about meeting people where they're at, and Emily P talks about that in her confessional. Like you don't say no to an alliance, even if you don't want to be in it. The idea is that you want the people to like you. But at the same time, if Nick, you're transparent and you don't really want to be in an alliance, it's going to be hard to say you want to be in an alliance. So you end up going down that path, and then you have to continually deceive over and over and over again, which is kind of what I thought we were starting to see a little bit this episode with Jessie, who, when I watched the first episode, I kind of thought she was on board. She's wide-eyed and ready to learn this game. Second episode I'm watching, and I'm seeing things a little different. Like, she's doing kind of what Emily said and agreeing, being part of this alliance. But when it came to the vote, Nick, she voted with you, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you know she was going to do that? Did you guys talk about that at all? Or was that a surprise to you?
I don't remember.
That's fair.
Travis and I probably.
We both understand very well the hazy memory that comes years after playing Survivor. Did I vote that way? I don't remember, but that's fair enough. So we're getting to the challenge. So Cooper, first, their narration, the music, the editing, this is fantastic. This is some great riveting stuff. And when you break down the challenge, it's like a paddle and a cup. But it's so exciting to watch. So clearly this is a challenge that we've seen before in Survivor. I don't know the name of it. Was that your inspiration behind this?
Yeah, so we did this in my season when I played, but it was obviously like just 1v1. So we just kind of put a spin on it and we said, let's do this in a 3-tribe format because it just makes the dynamic so much different. You can't do this like the strategy right away where you just like toss your thing up and then try to go after the other person. So it just kind of changed the dynamics of, you almost had to like communicate with the people while you were playing and being like, hey, do you want to go after this person first? And then just like, let's take on each other after that. So it just kind of added a different spin on a challenge we'd seen.
Oh, Austin just
things,
posted. It's called Idle Hands is the name of the challenge. Thank you, Austin.
that is the name.
So what you, Travis, asked me before. So I was now I remember. I was actually super surprised at when the voting was out, because I was not expecting to be kicked out as I was. Yeah, but so I was super confident that I was like chilling. I thought that people, like I had this like sort of alliance going on, or like trying to make it happen, and I thought that no one was interested in kicking me out, and then the voting came out and my name started showing up and I started freaking out. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all, and then I was like, oh damn, I should have thought more about what I was doing.
Well, I have to say, red flag alert for 3:28 a.m. text messages or whatever those were. What was the idea behind like strategy so late? And like, was there any like drinking involved? Like, that seems so late to be coming up with a plan. Were you overthinking things, or what happened there?
No, I was I think it was the other way around. I, I just wasn't thinking. So the 328 message is regarding the shoes, the shoe picture. Hello?
I think it was when you were texting like Will and Ben and Emily. Like I think it was a couple of those people. You like texted them like way late at night, and you're like, hey, like let's work together. And then you maybe sent someone else like oh, like let's actually get this person out.
Oh, I mean, I don't. I was so I was confident that no one would. Oh, so I was new at Survivor. People knew that I was new at Survivor. I thought that people thought that I would not be a threat to anyone. So I was testing the waters, basically. I was testing the waters. I was trying to see how people would like react to me reaching out and trying to like move some strings, and it wasn't very thought through, and yeah, that's what happens.
It was interesting to watch, though.
It's very interesting to watch. And I think we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves talking about the end of the episode, but it does play into Nick's kind of strategy throughout this. I see. At the end of the challenge, you guys are given more clues to the idol. Emily, who can't join us today, received one of the clues. I'm trying to remember, did Emily reveal the clue to her tribe or not?
No.
She did not.
She had a public debate with herself in front of the tribe, as I think it's Chloe is trying to look or something like that, but no, she did not share.
And she also didn't really go looking for it, am I correct?
She was not shown looking for it. She may have like gone out or something, and I guess this isn't really like a spoiler or anything, but she did, I believe, eventually share the clue with Brady also, but we didn't include that in the episode. So I'm fine saying that publicly as well. But I know. So yeah, she did, but she didn't really share it with anybody. But Cassie had basically already also seen like half the clue just from looking over her shoulder when Emily was like, do I share this? Do I not share this? Like, I don't know what this is.
And then we have the opposite side with Tormenta. The clue is given to Jessie, I believe. And then she's kind of manipulated and convinced that the best idea is to share it. And where Emily is like, I'm so glad that's not me, because she probably would have tried to keep it herself. So Jessie shares it. So Nick, did you ever go looking for it? Was that ever a part of your game plan?
No, no.
No.
So initially, as far as I understand, we are given more and more clues to be able to better find the 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 tokens.
Yeah.
So it was the start of the game, and I thought that we had no chance of finding them. Especially the clues that we knew were super broad. I remember like, we were thinking that it would be in the yeah,
Yeah, in
the
like the
place with the
ARB.
trees.
That's
Yeah,
basically all the clues said. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
for one other
Yeah.
thing I was
And for
going
those who don't know
to
what the ARB is like huge.
yeah, so
Sorry.
I thought that I had no chance of finding it.
So, yes, for everybody at home, if you have not lived in Ann Arbor, the Arboretum is this massive, massive landscape garden space. It has different types of biomes. It's a great place to hang out, but it is huge. So if you're looking for a tree, you're looking out of 1 out of 1,000. I mean, there's a lot. That's an exaggeration, but so I don't blame you, Nick. I probably wouldn't have done it either.
Yeah.
Um, so then we have everything that comes up post challenge. I was really kind of intrigued with how Ben really doesn't like Aaron and how that whole storyline started to develop. I was really like, I mean, when I kind of saw Ben as like going through an evolution in 2 episodes where I was like so rooting for him last episode. He's an actor. I think he can pull this off to a mean girl. Like 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 being kind of brutal at times. And so I don't know if that's his strategy going in. Nick, did you see any of that come out, that side of Ben when you were playing with him?
No, I thought when when Ben was playing, I thought that he was like, super chill, and like he seemed to be like a smart, like thinking ahead guy. But I would not see him like pulling like masterpieces to try and win. Yeah.
I thought with Ben, like one of the weirdest things with him was like he just seemed flippant. Like you see this one where he's like screaming at the camera, like he's basically gonna take Nick's life in the game, and then like the next confessional is like, I will not vote for Nick tonight, and then like it's dramatic. That's the theater background. But as much as he's trying to present that he's all these steps ahead, he's also figuring things out in real time. And that's something I wanted to point out because I think people try to act like you have to be this, Bobby Fischer and have all these planned chess moves in advance. But a lot of the game is adapting in real time. And I think we see that with Ben, where he's fronting, peacocking a little about how much he knows and how he has all these different strategies lined up. But really, when it boils down to it, you can see down to the wire, he's still questioning what he is doing.
And questioning his tightest alliance members, or what I perceive as his tightest alliance members, which could be another red flag as well for the future. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be fun to see that storyline kind of come full circle.
Well, I wanted to know, like, Nick, did you do any like in-person conversations with people, or were you mainly texting people on the computer? I know that you kind of really eased into the game, and they kind of said, that you started playing basically as you were headed out the door. So do you feel like you should have, communicated more, or you just feel like it is what it is?
Yeah. So on the one side, so yes, it was my first time playing, and I was chill uh, with my strategy because like, there was so much uncertainty. It didn't make any sense for me to to be like making many moves, right? On the other hand, also, so like we while we were in Survivor, I was taking like really hard classes in school, and I was actually like working all day. So I wasn't like doing. I think every single thing that I have done for the show is like showed in the episode because I didn't do much that wasn't shown in the episode. Like in particular that semester for classes, I like slept many went by many nights without sleeping. It was crazy, but whatever. So no, I to do better, I should have done more. I should have like done more outreach, like also recording myself doing more things and like actually doing things. But no, I didn't do much.
Well, you created your tribe name. You named the first
Yeah.
episode. I believe you're the one that said Viva Tormenta, right?
Yeah, I'm a very extroverted person. I think that's why Sam wanted me to be in the show, and I mean I really enjoyed it. Yeah, probably if I had been in the show for longer, like it would have been super fun. But yeah.
What does Tormenta mean again?
So tormenta in Spanish is it's a storm. Storm. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that coming. That's on the horizon for this tribe, I think.
So and like tormenta also sounds good, like how like, the name tormenta reminds me of like, Greek like gods like Thor or Horus or whatever. It's like those names that shock you. Funnily enough, shock like storms shock, but whatever. So yeah.
And the end of the
Then
episode
I
is
gotta know,
definitely
or
our
I'm sorry,
shot.
Nick, I really need to know, like, what is your whole take on this? Like, you are not a huge fan of the show. You dive in and you try this. You're watching this episode and you're seeing people who are spending hours of every day with people from the game, strategizing, super fans. How do you like process that, and how do you share that with like your friends and family? Do you tell them about this stuff?
Yeah. So I think I think the game, that Survivor game, is super interesting. I think it's super cool to be like doing like, social engineering with the people that are participating with you, and so the only reason I don't watch it is the only reason I'm not you may consider me a fan. It's just that I don't follow it, right? Um, my one issue though is that like, um, I like to think like I play chess. I do all of these things, and like I study like game theory and stuff like that. And there's a mismatch for that kind of people because truly, if you really think ahead and really like think out like all the things that all the things that you could do and how people may like play out, and then you watch like something more chill like Survivor or how people play Survivor, it doesn't make any sense. You're like, wait, why did he do this instead of this? And so that's and when I watch Survivor, I mean, like I just want to stop watching it. But that's my personal take. Yeah, because I mean, there's also like if I also don't understand it, right? Like if you're not following it, there might be a component of like me saying like what the fuck, but also it's true that if you're not into it, it's harder to get into it as well, right? Because you have no idea what these guys are talking about. Um, my family all knew that I was in this thing called Michigan Survivor, and that it was pretty fun. Um, um, but yeah, I was chilling through it, having fun. Yeah. I actually got into Survivor. This is pretty cool. I met, so Sam is producing the show, Sam Cooper, no, Sam Morris, or he was at least. And I took this business class in Denmark, and Sam took the same class with me in Denmark. And back before I went to Denmark, I used to be like studying all day, be super introverted. I was like a massive nerd. Back in Argentina, before coming to Michigan, I would be studying like all day. I was super nerd. And then in Denmark, I met Sam, and I met a bunch of other people, and I started going out, and I was like, going to the clubs and going to the bars, and meeting a bunch of people, and I went crazy. And I've always been like have this like cool, I don't know, like standout personality. Like I talk loud, I make my point, and people like look at me, and so Sam was like, Nick, you should definitely come to Survivor. Like you're going to be like the number one, or whatever. And yeah, so I was excited to come to the show.
Nick,
Well,
would you play again? Oh, sorry about that, Travis.
No, you're good.
Would you play again, Nick?
Yeah, definitely.
You would? Awesome.
Maybe I would be more devoted. Yeah, I would probably be more devoted, and I would probably like, start reading through things that players do, and how to like succeed. Maybe, yeah.
Well, I was watching this last week as you were on here talking, Kirk, and Cooper, you were talking about casting and how you were really excited when you get people who, don't maybe fit that typical, like, a classic Survivor super fan, someone who maybe knows the game or doesn't even know it at all. And I feel like Emily's not here, Nick is, but both of them kind of fall into that category a little bit. So what was your thoughts, Cooper, on like their gameplay and casting them in general?
Emily and Nick were both kind of two of the people who didn't know the game really coming in. So we like to have some of those people in the cast and just see how they're going to do, whether they're going to adapt. And obviously some of them do, and they get brought into alliances. And then some of them just don't really reach out to people right away. And that doesn't bode well a lot of the times for them. But we really loved both of those two, Nick and Emily, just for their personalities that we knew would shine on the show. I think you see it especially like with Nick and his great confessionals, and Emily's just a character in herself. And I know she gets a lot of some hate a lot from her tribe mates at least, but I think Emily actually could have done really, really well had she been on a different starting tribe with some other people who she had more in common with. I think she got really kind of I don't even know what the right word is, but she did get a little screwed with her tribe. But they both were so amazing during casting. Just we knew they had great personalities and would be great for the show.
She had that Courtney Moon vibe to her where she was just sweet as can be, and that tribe was going to gobble her up no matter what happened. So I loved her, but she could not smile her way out of that group of people.
So right here, guys, I'd like to talk about some of the other players that are making some moves in the game and maybe what your perception is of that player right in episode 2. So let's talk quick about Aliza, Savu Savu. We haven't talked a lot about her. Travis, kind of what's your take on Aliza?
Wow, she's just really fun. She is, I feel like, fairly honest. I don't think she's like trying to overtly lie to people, but I don't feel like she's trying to be very deceptive either. She seems like someone that's making genuine connections too. And she said it, she's wanted to be on the show for forever, and you can see that in how she carries herself, because it's like second nature to her. She doesn't have to think about all these different things. She is kind of like the light everyone's gravitating towards in that group, I think. And I don't even know if people are really aware of it.
Her excitement is so contagious. Like when she's excited about winning the challenge, it's kind of that energy. It's why I watch Survivor. It's for characters like her that just shine, even though what the game you're playing is a game of struggle. It's so fun to watch her. Another standout to me still is Jesse. And I know we could talk a little bit about the vote and how that went down, because I'm a little curious why the tribe didn't include her in the vote, because it doesn't really change it. But Jesse seems like in the first episode, she has no idea what's going on. She's Will's younger sister. And then in this episode, there's another evolution for another character, and she seems way more aware of what's going on around her. Am I reading this right, Travis? Is that what you're feeling?
Absolutely. Reading it as clearly as the little sign behind her, which I loved all episode as well. But yeah, I mean, she's really smart. She's very observant, and she reads through BS while being able to like cover up her own BS that's going back at them. So that was just really exciting to watch. I struggled with understanding, like, did she, like, was she defiant? Was she like going against the grain with this group? Was she trying to throw a hinky vote or stir something up? But as soon as I saw it play out, I was like, oh no, girl, you didn't do your math here on the numbers. Like, they're going to be able to figure out pretty quickly that Erin didn't vote herself, So I was nervous and excited to see kind of what develops with that, because this team, or that group of three, the Kroger Plus Club, they seem really anti-Erin, and I'm like not really getting 100% why. And I feel like they're going to need Erin at some point here. Really need her. And Erin seems to not really be catching on that she's on the outs, so they might be able to milk that for a while, but I'm shocked by the whole Erin thing.
Exactly. But Ben was at the party with Jesse talking mad stuff about Erin. So Jesse is aware of this already. And so now potentially there is like this fissure, this crack that maybe Jesse can use if tribes don't swap. Maybe she can wriggle in. And I think she's smart enough. My fingers are crossed for her. I hope she's smart enough to kind of figure out how to change her trajectory as it's going forward.
Absolutely.
And she's also, you mentioned Erin.
Sorry,
oh yeah,
keep talking over you. We're too much alike. Kirk and I are so much alike. It's stupid. So it's hard for us to co-host together, I think, because we want to say the same stuff.
You mentioned Erin. And Erin, I think as well, I don't understand via the edit so far why she's being perceived the way she's being perceived, but that clearly changed on day, I think it was day 12, when they invited her before Tribal to go out and eat, talk with her. But to me, Erin, at all the challenges, she seems like a firecracker too. But also, I think Lady Gaga would call her like a free woman. Like she just seems like she has that like independent spirit about her. So I still have a lot of hope for her too, if she can kind of maybe wriggle her way out of this situation that she might be in.
Jesse and Erin would be great together, but I don't think they're going to work together because they literally voted for each other. Or no, I mean, I guess Jesse just voted for Erin, but that's kind of hard to come back from. And a lot of times that's what a larger group will do with smaller offsets, is pit them against each other so that they won't work together.
Yeah, I think to clear some of that up, I think episode 3, which is airing a little bit actually, at 8 p.m. tonight, but I think you will get some Tormenta fallout. explanation, kind of all of the above of what you've kind of been hinting at. It's there moving forward. So you'll get a lot of those questions answered very soon.
In an hour. So another person I don't think we've talked a lot about in these first two podcasts is Brady. What's Travis? What's your kind of take on Brady?
He does seem like this classic player. I'm struggling to exactly pin who from Survivor I feel like he is, but he's one of those people I feel like is going to get his head chopped off, come merge. He's going to just coast along, but I think he's really good at building relationships, but I think he's going to get comfortable in the relationships he builds to a point that that's going to cost him, because a lot of times people that are strong and smart really need to be aware of that shifting point in the game where you have to rely on the loyalty of your allies because you have this huge target on your back from being, kind of perceived as a threat. And he's not really being perceived as a threat per se, but more as an asset right now. But that will change. So I'm excited to see where he goes.
Absolutely. It seems like he has a lot of feelers out there. He seems like he pops into the episode here and there, but he's never the focus. So I can see how that could either really help him or really hinder him at the same time. I'm curious. I can't figure out where he's going to go. He could kind of, like, if we compared him to a Survivor player, would he be a Reynolds?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I was even thinking a little bit of like an Adam Klein, but a little bit more like cohesive with the group of people. He seems to really fit that tribe, and I don't know if he would be. I feel like he could fit almost any tribe on some level, but that tribe really fits him.
So then, oh yes. So we're talking about Tafiti. So let's just get right to. I like to call him Defeaty because I have this feeling, like I have this sick feeling that maybe they're going to lose. But okay, so Tafiti is about to go to tribal. We have some conversation, and I wish Emily was here because I really wanted to pick her brain about this. But it seemed like she really wanted to vote out one of the other females on the tribe. And I know that gender doesn't always matter when it comes to these games. I just was curious as to why. Like, I wanted to know more of the reasons. I don't know, Cooper, is there any illumination you can give us on that?
Yeah, so I think you see it a little bit in her conversation with Brady, and she says that's basically the only conversation outside the game that she's had. So some of what you hear Brady telling her is, hey, we need to keep like me for strength. We need to keep Dylan for strength. And this is Emily, who hasn't played Survivor. She doesn't know a lot about Survivor. So she's one of those people who I think want to just kind of latch onto something right away and go with the flow. And so what Brady was telling her was what the flow was to her. So whatever Brady was going to kind of give to her was, I think, eventually just what Emily was going to go with.
Yeah, it was so hard for me with Emily because she really wanted to try to integrate herself into that group of people, but just as like that was the perfect fit for Brady, it was really an awful fit for her. And I'm trying to play back in my mind, like, what group of three was she in? How did she even fall in to that group? Do you remember, Cooper? Like, she just seems so far gone from everyone in that group.
Yeah, the group that she ended up in was her and Chloe and Sarah. And I honestly don't even, that wasn't really on camera for anything that was like shown as all the people were grouping up. I think that was the only group that had all three of the same gender, if I remember right. But yeah, I don't think there was any rhyme or reason why that group of three happened. I think those three were probably just close in proximity, and somebody just kind of grabbed them and said, hey, we're getting into groups of 3. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
I bet it's going to be so interesting to see how that first choice, where they divided into tribes of 3, how that's going to trickle through this entire game, and how far it's going to take some people, or how early it's going to eliminate some players from just choosing maybe the wrong choice because it was the easy choice. Travis is next to me. Cooper's next to me. I'll just align with them. I'm super curious to see how that plays out.
Mhm.
So we finished the Tafiti Tribal Council. Emily gets 5 votes. Cassie has 1 vote. So a total unanimous vote. I hope to see Emily again. I think she's got potential in another version of Survivor. But then let's go to the storm. Tormenta. Oh my gosh. Did Ben and Will literally turn into like what Dr. Will and Mike Boogie from Big Brother All Stars? Like, I literally felt like they are the true evil henchmen of this
Yeah.
series.
More like Dr. Jekyll and Boogeyman is kind of what they became. It was scary to watch because they're so friendly and bubbly, and then, like, I don't know if you did that, like Cooper, like the zoom ins and stuff, but like,
So yeah.
Yeah, we tried to add some comical editing in there too, as they're doing all their villainous things, and they're saying a lot of very out there and somewhat like things on camera. Yeah, we tried to give it some comedy because it got pretty dark in there at places.
Well, I think that highlights how seriously some people take the game. We have, Nick, I think, enjoyed the game, but I don't feel like Nick, like, took it, like, seriously. It was a game. Whereas, like, Ben, like, I'm nervous he didn't go to class. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this was his minor for the year, all of his extra time and energy went into this. And so, I think this episode we're kind of seeing like, hey, if you didn't put in your dues early, it cost you. But I'm curious to see if that's gonna be a theme or if it's gonna, swing the other direction, and we're gonna start seeing these people who are spending egregious amounts of time, strategizing and stuff, starting to get some eyes on them. What do you think, Kirk?
I completely agree, 100%. I am so hot and cold when it comes to Ben. Like, I love characters like this in Survivor. I mean, that's why Ben is an amazing character. He can be so fun to watch, and then he's a villain in the next moment, and I watch him find an idol next week. I mean, like, I just have the sense he could potentially run this game. He's got a lot of connections. It just depends on if all his connections start to catch up with him and people start to compare notes. I think that could be worrisome. I'm curious to kind of talk about the end of the tribal. So, and Nick, you did mention this a little bit. How many people did you think were voting Aaron with you?
I think I thought that most people were going to vote her out simply because my feeling was that like, that people didn't like her to keep her as part of the tribe. So yeah, and that was part of why it was so shocking that I was kicked out, voted out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So pretty much what we saw, the 3 invited Aaron to go out for pizza. And is that, Cooper, where they decided on the new plan?
Yeah.
So I like I said a little bit earlier, I think you're going to get some of the answers in episode 3. But you also see a little bit of maybe where their true loyalties lie in, they are talking about kind of like a fake alliance with Aaron a little bit during this, where maybe the real one is Jesse. But obviously then they voted with Aaron this time, and Jesse didn't really vote with them. So it's a little up in the air, but I guess the best answer I can give without really giving away like the direction is answers are to come. They're to come.
And they're to come in about 1 hour and 6 minutes from here.
Absolutely.
Am I correct, Cooper? 8 o'clock? So
Yes, that is correct.
So Nick received 4 votes. Aaron received 2 votes. Sad to see you leave, Nick. You are really the namesake of the tribe. Tormenta will always be yours.
Do you have any like coulda, woulda, shouldas? Is there anything right now that you're like, I wish I would have done that?
I should have. So I was in a good position, or I thought I was in a good position. Instead of starting to make moves, I should have shut my mouth and let those who know what they were doing stay in charge, while me, who was unthreatened before I opened my mouth, I should have just gone with the flow, at least until I knew more of what was going on, just by hearing or me actually reading about Survivor more. Yeah, definitely. And well, Cooper, do people know about the picture that I sent?
Yeah, so that we actually got it in the episode, the muddy shoes. Yeah, it's
Okay,
the
yeah,
pictures on the episode.
I should not have sent that picture. Definitely. But yeah, so it's interesting. If I had actually gone to seek the idol, I would definitely not have sent that picture. There's no chance that if you go seek the idol, you will send a picture like that. So when I sent that picture, it didn't even go through my mind that people would think that I went looking for the idol, right? And so, but nonetheless, that contributed a big part to people wanting me out. So it's really interesting, right? Because one would think that they would not they would not think that I went to seek the idol, but whatever. I should not have uploaded that picture.
Yeah, maybe not.
The next time you play, Nick, usually you don't have phones in Survivor, so maybe you should try the next one as a unplugged Survivor. I think you'll do well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be more realistic surviving. Yeah.
All right, so we have our next episode dropping in an hour. You guys can find it right on YouTube at Survivor Michigan. Also, for live reality games coming up this week, Survivor British Columbia will have Facebook live feeds. Hannah, if you remember from last week, will be hosting a live chat with really a bunch of people who want to talk. So if you're interested in kind of commenting on what's happening at Survivor BC, definitely send the page a message. Also, we're still looking for more broadcasters, people who want to talk about LRGs. So if you are somebody who likes to talk and listen to yourself talk, hit us up. We want more people. And also, Survivor Melbourne is getting really close to the conclusion. We're setting up a podcast for that one as well. So we have a bunch of new stuff coming for you guys, and looking forward to covering episode 3 of Survivor Michigan next week.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure to meet the players and get to talk to them and just hear their perspective. So we really appreciate you being here tonight, Nick. It's always a pleasure, Cooper. I mean, your perspective on things as the host is really exciting, and it's fun when we get to hear some of the behind-the-scene things that we don't get to see in the episode. So thank you for being here as well.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you guys for having us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having us, of course.
The live broadcast for Survivor BC is this Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So for you East Coasters, that will be 11 a.m. And that is going to be exciting. It's all get out. So part of why we do these is so we can get interconnected and learn about all the ins and outs of the different games and some of their quirks. So hopefully you guys will take the opportunity to tune in to some of these other ones that are happening right now.
Thanks, Travis. And we will see you guys next week with another podcast on Survivor Michigan. See you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.